Those who don't know, Eric Weinstein is a Harvard-trained PhD in mathematics who somehow found himself as the creator of the intellectual dark web, which you've read about in the pages of the New York Times amidst photos of people like Eric standing in the trees with Sam Harris and Joe Rogan standing among the cacti. So, Eric, first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And second of all, how did you, who started off and still work in the world of physics and mathematics, end up creating at least the name for the intellectual dark web? You did it, I know we were on stage together when it happened. So what's the backstory here?
Well, I think it's actually sort of an interesting one. I have been tracking various political and social issues since the 1980s and have inserted myself or fought through a number of topics, including high-skilled immigration, mortgage-backed securities, and various issues having to do with my concerns over the loss of objectivity in the major press organs. So in some ways, this is not my first rodeo. There have been a few before. And what's been really interesting for me is that this is the first one where I've had great company. So a lot of these previous iterations have been really one or two people, like Nassim Taleb was a co-fighter in the mortgage-backed security question. And a guy named Norm Matloff was one of the few people who was really a critic of high-skilled immigration from an intelligent position. So what's really interesting about this is that this is the first time that there's a large number of interesting voices with a few new technologies and wrinkles to explore. And I think the best thing I could think to do with so many independent voices was to try to use language to identify what was already occurring and have the language sort of help people see what was already happening, and that would allow us to direct this a little bit for more powerful aims.
What do you think has changed? I mean, what sort of brought all of this together? Because obviously it's a pretty politically disparate group. You're on the political left. You voted Democrat, I believe, virtually all the time now.
I don't think I've ever voted.
Oh, you've never? Okay, so you're on the left, and obviously your brother Brett, who's a member of the IDW in good standing, he also is on the left. People like Sam Harris are on the left, and then I may be the only overt conservative in the group. Actually, like it's been actually perceived as this wild right-wing group, and as far as I know, I'm the only registered Republican in the group. So
far as I know, and I think that has to do with the fact that something very peculiar happened on the left. And so in many ways, this is a response from an older left to what is viewed as almost certainly a very brief, very intense, and very crazy bout of bad judgment, I would say, from the American left. It's not that these strains haven't been present before, but what's really new to me is the idea that this new sort of woke network, which practices something which I've called left-Carthyism, has invaded the major organs of civil society. And the most important examples of this, I would say, first and foremost, is not the universities, but the major media companies that form our sense-making network, so news bureaus, let's say. The next thing that's infected, in my opinion, is the tech companies that are public-facing, which are under constant pressure to show that they are sufficiently in line with what are called progressive values, but I think most of us with a longer timeline would say are very regressive values. In the intelligence community, which scares me no end, almost certainly has a relationship with these tech companies, given that we deposit all our secrets into our Gmail accounts and our browsing histories, as you were just talking about in your latest plug. All of these things come together in what I call TIM, technology, intelligence, and media. The universities are certainly a serious problem, but I think the most important problem is that we can't trust our sense-making organs because, as I tweeted out today, the New Yorker, ran a tweet saying, conservative orators like Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro, and Richard Spencer, and then ... And I thought, wow, I mean, you just put Ben Shapiro next to Richard Spencer as if none of us are going to notice what you just did. This has gotten really dirty, really negative, and conservatives have complained about excesses on the left for a long time, and I think that's been fair. But I also think that there have been a lot of excesses on the right. What we're seeing is something really, really new. The new left is much more dangerous. And I think those of us on the old left who weren't happy with some of these strains before take it upon ourselves to say, how do we clean this up? This is, in some sense, our problem. And that was not fair to do to you. So if the New Yorker's not going to apologize to you, I prefer not to apologize. I'm just going to fight back because it's just not right.
Well, you didn't do it, so you shouldn't apologize, obviously.